Welcome to the Under the Hat podcast,
the show where we talk about everything and anything that is top of mind in education.
The goal is to provide meaningful conversations to what is currently happening in our classrooms.
Stories, pains,
moments of success.
We want to hear it all.
Welcome back, friends, to Under the Hat podcast. Happy Saturday. Welcome. I'm enjoying my coffee. Sophie is enjoying something.
Pepsi.
Oh, a Pepsi. Yes.
It's not diet.
But thanks again, friends. And we're super excited because we have Tisha Richmond here with us on the show. If you are not aware of the amazingness that is Tish Rich, you're in for a treat. We're talking Canva learning consultant, her own podcast, an author. Southern Oregon, I believe, is where you reside. Yeah, and this is where it has my heart. Tish does a lot of work for Q, and so her and I both serve different roles. Tish is more. Her role is a lot more impressive than mine. But we'll be talking about all of that. But Tish, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Oh my goodness, it's so great to be here. Thanks so much for having me. I am drinking LaCroix, so we're talking about beverages this morning. But I'm so glad to be on the show. And I was excited to see a chef's hat in your amazing intro. That's very cool. Definitely approve of that.
I almost went to go buy one for this specific occasion. I was like, how cool would it be if one of us had a chef's hat? And some people are probably confused by that. And I was like, wait, what does that have to do with anything? But we will get there. We will get there. But yeah, thanks again. So Sophie, what are we doing today?
Today, we're going to chat with, well, you already said it. So Tish. We're going to chat with Tisha. And I am super excited to talk about two things in particular. I'm excited to talk about her latest book and her latest adventure that she's been going on. But before we jump into those things, Tisha, tell us about your education journey.
Oh my goodness. So I have been in education a long time, since 1996. And I have done a lot of different things. Primarily, I have been a culinary arts teacher. I taught for 5 years in San Diego. I taught for 12 years in Medford. I moved into a tech integration specialist role in my district here in Medford, and also a student engagement and PD role after that. And last year was the first year ever that I was outside of the public education system, and I worked for Wasserman as a Canva learning consultant, getting to support districts globally in onboarding Canva for education and teaching educators how to empower student creativity and collaboration with the platform. And I'd worked in that same role 2 years prior, but last year, I was fully in. Also stepped in as a global community manager for Canva for a short time while somebody was on maternity leave. And so I'm just really grateful for all of the experiences because I've learned so much. And I am working with Q. I'm on the executive board as a secretary right now, and started the Southern Oregon Q affiliate about 2 years ago. And that's been a really fun adventure to bring Q to Southern Oregon, and excited about continuing to build and grow there. And so in the midst of all of that, I had the honor of publishing a few books through Dave Burgess Consulting. So I had Make Learning Magical published in 2018. And that's kind of my manifesto. It's really how I went from a teacher that was really contemplating leaving education. I was tired, I was burnt out, I was thinking about doing other things. And I really, in that book, broke down the keys that really unlocked magical learning for me, not only transforming my journey as an educator, but really transforming and creating unforgettable experiences for students. And so in that book, I share from a family and consumer science educator perspective, because that's what I taught. However, what I share is applicable to all grade levels and educators. And then I had the joy of getting to collaborate with my son, which was something I never expected to be able to do, but to write the book Dragon Smart. It's a children's book that I wrote the story, and my son brought it to life with his amazing illustrations. And the book is inspired by him, so it makes that collaboration even more special. And then last year, the same year actually that Dragon Smart was published, I also collaborated with John Crippo and Marlena Hepburn to create the EduProtocols Companion Guide, which is a book of Canva templates that go along with book 1 of EduProtocols, and that is only in ebook form. It's available online, but it's you open up the pages through Kindle. So it's been a magical journey, that is for sure, and I'm super grateful for just all of the incredible people that I've met on that journey and all of the amazing opportunities that I've had.
Yeah, no, that's there's so much in that in terms of like your story and what you've contributed. And so
you could probably really relate to our hats. Like you've worn a lot of different hats in your life.
Yeah.
I have.
So one thing I'm kind of curious about, as a Q member myself, so like I find it interesting, like starting an affiliate, right? Like, what kind of like what led you to do that? Because I think like there's maybe a confusion of like, oh, you think of Q, you think of California. But then like also like maybe like roadblocks that come with that, because like you are starting basically a nonprofit, right? Even though it's kind of an umbrella of QQ. That's what I'm going to call it for right now, is QQ. But like, so like, just kind of maybe share a little bit about that journey and like how it came about.
Yeah. So, when I started, so I would say it's about 2014 was kind of the beginning of my journey into magical learning. I mean, I opened up my mind to ed tech. It opened up opened up so many ideas and things that I never knew existed. And part of that journey was going to conferences and getting to experience different kinds of learning that I hadn't experienced before. Because as a career and technical ed teacher, when I would go to get professional development, it was going to a baking workshop. Like I would go and learn how to bake bread, or I would go, it was very, very subject area focused. And that was who those were the people that I learned from. It was very kind of in that funnel. And so when I started to open up my world to learning from other educators outside of CTE and FCS, I was just like, wow, like there's all these amazing ideas out there, and it might look different in my class, but I can definitely take these ideas and I can apply it to my classroom. And so one of those conferences that I went to was Fall Q and Spring Q. And I just loved the energy. The vibe was something different at that conference that I hadn't necessarily experienced in other conferences that I attended. And I just loved how there was a sense of community, that people were just really excited to be together and learn together and grow together. And, all those hallway conversations, right? Or those affiliate events, those kinds of things were happening. And I thought, wow, I really want to be a part of this. This is really, really cool. And so I had gone to a few conferences on my own, and I thought, like, how cool would it be, like, if we could bring an affiliate to Southern Oregon? But I had never really acted on that. I just thought it was just something was in my mind that would be cool to do in the future. And then I had brought one year to Spring Q, my supervisor from the district office. This was when I was in a tech integration specialist role. And she was the curriculum specialist. And so I brought her to Spring Q to experience it. And she's like, Tisha, this is amazing. Like, we need to have this in Southern Oregon. And I'm like, I know. And so that's how it kind of that's how it started. And so then we went to an affiliate event at Spring Q, and Ed Campos was there at that event. And he's like, oh, like, yeah, let's see if we can make this happen. Like, I know who to connect you to. And so that was just, it started the conversations, and it just went from there. And we ended up making it happen. And so it was really cool to be able to bring our own affiliate to Southern Oregon and to start to grow it. And we are definitely in the growing stages. You know, it is a lot of work, you know, to put those events together, to build that community. But we have a really great board of educators that I get to collaborate with to be able to do that. And we just actually met this last week and have an event planned already coming up here in just a few weeks that we're going to be promoting very soon. So yeah, it's really exciting. And it's really exciting to bring our Southern Oregon educators together, because we have a lot of great schools in our region, and very rarely do we have an opportunity to all come together and learn and grow together.
Yeah. I think that's the thing I've always appreciated about Q, is how cooperative it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They are in the sense that, like, because like in your situation, like, okay, cool. So like this community, there's no presence there here where I'm at, but let's bring it here. And to me, I think that says a lot of Q as an organization, of what they're willing to do. Because at the end of the day, Q has always been about, like, how do we better support our educators in a wide range of ways, right? And
100%.
that's just one of them. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
and fall Q's coming up, everyone, and there's still time to come and register. So do it.
Yeah.
It's going to be.
And Tisha, are you, because you're obviously at Fall Q, right?
Yep. I'm going to be there. I can't wait. Just a couple weeks. Cool. The 6th and 7th, I think. Yes.
5th. No.
What did I say? 5th and 6th. Yeah, it's that weekend. It's weekend.
The first weekend of October.
Yes.
That's how I keep on framing it in my head.
Yes.
And are you running sessions?
I do have a couple sessions that I'm going to be running, and then I'll be there, you know, just to support as a board member. And I can't wait. I'm so excited. Yeah. It's gonna be here before we know it.
Yeah. Oh no, 100%. And you know, so let's go back about this book, because I love the idea of collaborating with family. And this story is like super cute. Like, so so was this, so first of all, how old is your son now, if you don't mind me asking?
He's 22.
Oh, okay. So he's 22. And how old was he when you all first started the project?
He was 20.
Okay.
I believe he was 20. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah.
And so if I understood it correctly, like, he brought it to life in the sense of illustration. Is that?
He did. Yeah.
Okay.
So the way that it all kind of happened was, this was a story, or a message, I would say. Not a story, but a message that I wanted to share for a very long time, because I have 2 kids. I have a son and a daughter, and my son is the youngest, and they are very, very different learners. My daughter went through school and was in leadership, got straight A's, was like almost valedictorian, like loved learning, loved the school experience, all of that. And my son went through school, and he struggled all the way through. He had high anxiety. He had ADHD. He just struggled in the learning environment. He didn't like school, and he struggled wanting to go to school pretty much his whole entire school career. And it wasn't that he didn't have great teachers. He did. He had some great teachers throughout that school experience, but he really struggled with feeling like he was smart. Where as a parent, I saw all of these ways that he was smart, right? He was so incredibly creative. He was so just socially intelligent. Like he would be able to just communicate and just in that social aspect, he was just amazing. He was so empathic and just cared so much about his friends. And just like, there's all of these things that I saw him do that was just so amazing. And yet he didn't see himself as smart because he didn't succeed or feel successful in the school environment. And so that was really where the story, was inspired from. And I also, as a teacher, had so many students that fit into that same kind of scenario, right? Where I saw all of the ways that they were smart as they were in my class, and they were creating and they were doing all these things. And yet sometimes it was only my class that they felt successful in, right? They didn't feel successful in other classes. And it breaks my heart because, it broke my heart that these kids and my son went through school feeling that way and didn't see all of the ways that their brilliance, was manifesting itself. And so one in particular day, my husband had come home, and we both are educators. He was a ceramics teacher in the same school that I was a culinary teacher for a very long time. And he still is a teacher. He's gone on some other adventures too, but he's back into teaching this year as well. And we shared a lot of kids in the school that we taught at together. And there was one in particular kid that we both saw how brilliant they were. And we just knew that this kid was going to be so successful in life, but just was not successful in school. In fact, he did not graduate from high school. And we would keep up with his dad because we would see him in the community. And we would be like, how is this kid? Like, how is he doing? And every time we would see him, he's like, oh my gosh, he's doing amazing. Like he owns this business, and now he owns more than one business. And so the last time that my husband saw this dad, he was in the grocery store and asked how he was doing. And he's like, oh my gosh, he's like a multimillionaire. Like he's living and, he's not even 30 yet. Like he's doing fantastic. And that conversation that my husband had with him when he came home, I'm like, this is the story. Like, this is the message I want to share. Like, here's this kid that did not feel successful in school. And I told him, like, I even had conversations with this kid in school, like, you're going to be a millionaire someday. Like, you are so smart. And just tried to help him see that in himself. And so it just was like this burning, like, I've got to share this message. And I was like, how am I going to share it? Is this a session? Like, is this a conference proposal? Is this what is it? And that within a week, it wasn't that day, but it was definitely within a short amount of time, I just sat down and I started writing out the story in the form of a children's book. And I didn't know that was how it was going to come out, but that's how it came out. And so that night I texted my son, or actually I called him, I think. And he was in New York at the time. And I said, hey, Tommy, I wrote the story. Can I read it to you? And he's like, sure, Mom, but it's like 12 p.m. here. Like I work at 5 a.m. in the morning. Can you call me in the morning? I'm like, sure. So when he got off work, I called him and I said, I want to read this story to you. And you're going to notice that it's inspired by you, because there's a lot of like little Easter eggs and things in there that applied to him. And so I did. He said, yeah, I'd love to hear it. I read it. And I said, Tommy, I would love to have this book published. I don't know, like if DBC is going to pick it up, but I want to self-publish if not anything else. And I said, I can't imagine someone more perfect to illustrate this book than you. Now, granted, Tommy had never illustrated before. Like he had never even, he had done his own renderings and drawings of clothing and such because he was really into fashion for a while. But he was very private about sharing his drawings. Like he didn't share it with me a lot. I just knew that he was very capable and that I knew as his mom that he could totally do this. And so I said, would you be willing to maybe draw out some illustrations of what the dragon was the main character, like of this dragon, And like, I'll contact DBC and see what they need for a children's book proposal, because that looks different than the proposal that I had written before. But would you think about maybe doing this? And he's like, Mom, I would love to. Like, I love this story. This is so me. And this is such an important message to me too. So sure enough, he did. He put I reached out to DBC and said, what would you need for a book proposal? Like, what do we need to provide? And they told us. And we submitted the story and the illustrations. And I honestly did not think that they were going to say yes. I was so scared. And I remember we submitted it in November. We submitted it, I think, at the beginning of December. And I remember getting an email from Tara Martin, and she said, thanks so much. It's probably going to be a couple weeks before we can get back to you, but thanks so much for submitting. And so she did. And it was right around the holidays. And so the 2 weeks came and went. And I'm like, all right, they're just wanting they don't want it to ruin our Christmas or, our holiday season. So they're just waiting until after the holidays, and they'll contact me. And so Tommy actually happened to be home for the holidays at that time. And they messaged and said, hey, can you get on a Zoom call? And I'm like, oh gosh, this is it. Like, they don't want to give this message in an email. Like, they just want to tell me in person that it's not going to work out, because they don't accept many children's books at all. And so we got on that Zoom call, and they said, we love this story so much. And we think that it's going to resonate with so many people, not just kids, but just people. And we love how unique these illustrations are. They're not anything like we expected, or like, it's so different. And we think it's really going to resonate with kids, and his story, Tommy's story about, really, it came full circle within that collaboration, because here's this kid who I saw all these ways that he was smart, and creativity and kind of artistry was one of them. And yet he hadn't fully developed that in himself because he didn't see it in himself. And so through this project, he was really able to hone in those skills and teach himself. He taught himself how to illustrate. He taught himself how to use Procreate. Like, he didn't know how to do those things going into this project. And so it was a real year of learning. And I'm just so, so proud of him for all that he did to persevere in that year, because it was not easy. There's a lot of edits. There's a lot of going back and forth, and he made it happen. And I'm so grateful to DBC for accepting this project and trusting us and believing in us. And it's such a special project to both Tommy and I. Yeah.
That's so good. That's such a good story. And I mean, for me, like, just hearing on it, and I know, Sophie, you can kind of speak to this too. It's like, in education in general, not having enough opportunity for that creativity.
Well, and like, the system that I went through it's a box. It's a factory. You go in through, everybody's taught the same exact way, and you shove them out. I was ADHD, and nobody knew, because I was that one kid that worked overtime and still got the A, or because the teacher was talking at the same time that she was showing, that was something that worked for me. And so I didn't have to study because it just stuck. But when it got into high school, I struggled a little bit more. Like, my mom recorded my honors English books of herself reading them, and then I'd listen while I was reading, so it would stick. Because what I didn't know was that my ADHD brain was just going off. As I would start reading, and then my eyes would keep reading, but my brain was over here doing something
totally else. I can say
that. And I hated school. I hated it. I had A's, B's. I hated school. I hated going to school. I hated being in the school. I hated everything about it. But I ended up going into education.
Yeah.
Partially because of 4-H, and partially because I didn't want another person to go through the same experience I did.
Yeah. I could totally relate to that.
Knowing that there was a way to reach everybody, because I would be also the one tutoring. I have great pattern recognition, so math class was a breeze, and I could explain it to my peers better sometimes than the teacher could. And so I went into the math classroom, and as you mentioned, there were a lot of times when my students only felt successful in my class, and in no other classes. And that's because my brain worked more like theirs. And so I could figure it out. but yeah, just thinking about that, and like if we had different, more open-minded teachers, more ways about helping and fostering what people are really strong in, to allow them to have more choice in how they learn, how they sit, how they participate in class. Both my boys are autistic, and one is in a complete pull out. Knowing that he's in that situation now, that's very flexible for him, allowing him to take a break when he needs to, and to have quiet space when he needs to. And then when he's feeling great, then they're like, all right, let's get to learning. And then like they do all these really fun things with him. Just thinking back on the little kids like me that are in the classroom now, that don't know they're different. They just, they don't know that they're a normal zebra. They just feel like they're a wrong horse, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I love how you said that. Yeah. 100%. It's yeah.
I oftentimes, like when we have folks like yourself, Tish, on the show, it's like, we're preaching to the choir, right? And maybe that's like the majority of our listeners. But then I think, like, you know, when we go and we do like either in-person professional development, and you kind of see, like, you kind of more clearly see like, ooh, we're not all on the same page from classroom to classroom, of like how important it is to ensure that every student shines in their own way. And so, yeah, no, that's super important. A good way to do that, though, so I'm gonna use it as a transitional piece, is CTE, right? And so, Tish, I don't know if you know this about me, but I did teach in a Forensic Bio California Partnership Academy.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, and it was when I got hired, I had no idea what a California Academy was. They're like, oh, by the way, you're in this academy thing. I was like, I don't even know what that means, but cool. And so we were Forensic Bio. And while I didn't teach Forensic Bio, I was one of the core subject teachers that supported that school within a school.
Okay.
So that's my context of CTE, which, collaborating with the actual CTE teacher, doing that cross-curricular instruction, that project-based learning instruction, completely love it. So CTE definitely has my heart. Did a lot of conferences around CTE. But for those listening, so we know that you've made a transition of sort. And maybe talk a little bit about that. I am feeling a little hungry. So very, very keen to hear this part of your journey, how you got there, and kind of, we talked a little bit about it before we went live. But just sharing like what it's like being out and now getting, I don't want to say shoved back in, but maybe on your own,
a little bit like that,
back into this wilderness that is the classroom.
Honestly, it has happened so fast that I haven't even had processing time yet. It has been a whirlwind. So it was about, I should know the exact date. It was the end of August, like I would say like 17th-ish. And I was approached about coming back to the district that I'd been a part of before for many years, and taking over the culinary program, because they were 1 week out before school starting and they had no culinary teacher to start the year. And so they asked, Tisha, are you at all even curious? And I said, yeah, I am curious. And I don't know what you don't know, like sometimes, like I was perfectly happy doing what I was doing. I love being a Canva learning consultant. Like it was great. Like there was nothing, I wasn't looking for anything else. But for some reason, when they asked me, are you curious? I realized, yes, I was curious. Like I want to hear more. And I think what happened was just my heartstrings were being tugged, right? Like I knew that this program was without a teacher at the beginning of the year. I knew how hard it was to find a culinary teacher. And here are these kids that have signed up to take culinary, and there was no one to teach them. And all of those feelings of all of those things that I remembered about loving culinary arts, like come flooding back. And I'm like, I really think it would be amazing to be with kids again. And I was sharing before the show started, like I have never forgotten what teacher tired is like. Like there is no job that I have ever done in my entire life that is as difficult as being a teacher. However, there is something about the interaction, like with kids, the ability to make an impact on their life, on their journey, on their skill set, to be challenged in a way, like being a teacher where you have all of these personalities, you have all of these different learning, needs, accommodations that need to be met. You have, personalities like crazy in your classes that you're needing to create this learning environment that works for everybody, where not only it works for everybody, but where everyone thrives. And there is no challenge like that, right? And there is also no, I've never had the opportunity to use my creativity in a way like I have when I've been a teacher, like just to be, okay, I want to make a difference. I want to create a learning environment where everyone thrives. And so you have to tap into this, like this creative part of your being to provide that kind of a learning environment for them. And so all of that for me is really exciting. Like I love being challenged. I love being creative. I love getting to know kids and building those relationships. I love knowing that what I'm teaching is something that they're going to be able to use in life, regardless of whether they want to go into a career in culinary, right? Some are going to want to be chefs. Some of them are going to want to own their own restaurants, their own food truck. But there's a lot of them that just want to learn how to cook. And I can help them do that. And I can help them create a love, like foster that love of learning culinary. So they want to continue to build on those skills throughout their lifetime, like far beyond the time that they leave my class. And so I think all of those things is what really like drew myself back into that environment again. But it was an absolute whirlwind. So when I accepted the position in service, I think not only in service week had started, I believe school had already started. And so I started the school year 3 weeks late. There was a guest teacher that was in my classroom for 3 weeks prior to me stepping in. And so I was like daily communicating with that guest teacher, I created of course, through Canva, I created a website that was completely gamified. I had 3 different levels with missions on each level. Each mission was a video of me, like introducing the mission. Everything they needed was there. I wasn't even in the grade book yet. So I couldn't collect any activities or assignments through our learning management system because that wasn't something I had access to yet. So I was doing this all through like Google Forms and spreadsheets and I had like badges when they finished a level, they got a badge and all this stuff. And so this first week back, this week that we are just now ending, was my first week in the classroom, my first week of school. And I am so tired. I'm looking at myself going, oh my gosh, I look so tired today because I'm so tired, but it's so good. And I know it's going to be great. I really loved getting to know my kids this week and love getting settled into my classroom space. My classroom is amazing. Like it is such a cool space. And it's not still totally how I want it, but I definitely feel like I've been able to make it my own and a place that I think is going to be great for learning for students. And so yeah, let the magical adventures begin. It's going to be a wild ride, but I'm here for it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We kind of talked about this before we jumped on to the live part of this, but it's been 6 years, Tish, right? Like so 6 years of not being in the classroom, going back in. So is it, because I often hear be like, oh, the kids now are different than the kids before. Like, to your measure, it's only been a week, right?
Yeah.
Are within 6 years, are they the same kids? Do you see, have you already seen like a big difference in like, oh, these are new challenges or maybe new things that are exciting too, right? I'm curious what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I don't, there hasn't been any glaring things like, oh, wow, this is so different. I think for me, it's for me in my district, I'm learning new systems and things like that. So that's the new thing. Like we didn't have synergy when I left and now we have synergy and like stuff like that. But I think it was just I don't know how to say it. Like I was just very aware going in this week of, wow, like just all of the things that we do as a teacher to meet the needs of all of our learners. Like you just have such an eclectic mix in each class period of these personalities and these needs, and just trying to figure out, and from one period to another, that can be so different. And so really needing to adjust sometimes on the fly your lessons to accommodate and meet the needs of the learners in that particular setting, and to be able to anticipate and I don't know, like there's just that, I think for me is what is most it's most challenging and emotionally challenging, like and tiring, just because I'm really wanting to get to know what all of those needs are as soon as I can. And just even learning their names, right? Like I really value learning students' names, and I have worked really hard this week. But in the midst of learning names, you're trying to learn all of these other things. And that is, I think, why I'm so tired this week. But yeah, I think time will tell. I think as I settle in, time will tell, like if there are some really big differences from when I was in the classroom 6 years ago. But I was worried going in, is it going to be like riding a bike? Am I going to remember? And I do, but I feel like the bike is very rusty. Like
Got to get that oil out.
You got to get the oil out.
Yeah. No, but in the same time though, like I'm super happy for you, right?
Thank
like
you.
It just sounds like it's more about maybe not like the professional component, obviously, but like just being there, having that direct impact on the lives of students.
Yeah,
that's rewarding, right?
So rewarding.
And like I think it's a big part of your story is like just wanting to be there for people, to do the best by people. So no, that is super exciting. We are coming up towards the end here, and for those that are listening, I see you all in Instagram. We do have a double header today, so we can't go the full hour. But before we go, and Tish, we always have the same question. I don't know if we've caught the show in the past, but we always wrap up the show with what is under the hat for you, right? And so within education, what is top of mind from your vantage point, whether it's the good, the bad, or the ugly. Kind of curious where you are right now in terms of what's top of mind with what's happening right now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, there's so many things going on in education right now, and I think all of it is top of mind, honestly. Like now being back in it, like fully back in it, it's like, oh my gosh, because for the last 6 years I've been learning, but it hasn't, and growing, but I haven't had that classroom to bring it all back to, and like that immediate, being able to application. Thank you. Words are hard today. Yes. And so now it's like, oh my gosh, like to go to Fall Q this week and to be able to be in there and learn and be in sessions and be able to bring that directly back to my students is so important. So yeah, I mean, just being able to meet the needs of all of my kids, that is super important. AI, of course, is super big right now, and really thinking about ways to leverage that in powerful ways in my classroom. Social emotional learning, and how I can meet those needs in my classroom is huge. So many ed tech tools that I'm really excited about diving in deeper to now from, again, the vantage point of a classroom teacher, where as I've been out of my own classroom for a few years, I'm a little bit I want to dive back deeper into some of these tools that I used before and how I can use them now. So yeah, it's all top of mind for sure.
Yeah. No, so that's the one thing about working for like an ed tech company.
Yeah.
Is you become the chef of that tool. Like,
Yeah.
that tool inside, outside, backwards, like the whole
Yep.
thing. But I can see that could be overwhelming though. Like if you were to go back into the classroom full time, and like, what are all the updates for all these tools I've not used?
Yes.
And then B, now there's like way more of them. Like just the umbrella of AI and just
Yep.
that. There's so much. And so I couldn't imagine like that feeling of like, whew. And then you said like synergy, like a new learning management system.
Yeah.
Like that's a whole different ballgame as well, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, Canvas I rolled out when I was a tech integration specialist in my district. But again, I learned Canvas and how to support teachers with it. But when you're the teacher, it's different, right?
It's different.
So it's all new learning for me, and I'm definitely here for it. But I'm all in. So it's going to be an adventurous year, that is for sure.
Yeah, please stay connected with us. Would love to hear updates on how that's going. Tish, I'll be at Fall Q, so hopefully we get to at least quickly cross paths. You know how that goes at any Q event. But thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate your mind and your willingness to just share everything that you have.
Oh, it's been an honor and a joy. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it. Bye,
Thank you, Tish. It's been amazing. See you guys in the next one.
I know, like we're doing back to back. You all hang tight if you're going to be in it for the next one. But until next time, friends, keep your hats on, but your minds open. We'll talk soon.